He thought I would fall apart, that I'd scream, cry, beg, compete, but I didn't. I calculated. I observed. I waited. He didn't leave me for love. He left me for novelty, for something easier to impress, something that didn't know yet what he avoids, or hides, or lacks. He left for someone younger. That's how he phrased it, and I let him go, smiling, because I already had a plan. He thought I would disappear. Instead, I made him pay, quietly, completely, and in full. My name is Lauren Bell. I'm 41. I'm a financial consultant. I help people protect what they've built, their income, their investments, their future. I analyze patterns, see stress before it breaks things. I run projections. I find failure points. That's what I do professionally. But at home, I didn't see the collapse coming, because I wasn't looking. Daniel and I met when I was 27. He was 3 years older, confident, clever, handsome, in that slightly unkempt way that looks better with time. He told me I had serious eyes. I told him he had trouble written all over him. He laughed. I smiled. We were inseparable by week 2. We married in the fall. October. Small ceremony, no drama. Just people we loved. Just us. We bought a condo, traveled when we could, saved up, fought a little, made up a lot. We were one of those couples people described as balanced. He was the voice. I was the structure. He could charm a boardroom. I could make a budget sing. By year 4, we were in business together. He'd left his job, said he wanted independence, said we made a great team. He was right. On paper. We started a boutique consulting firm, focused, agile, just the two of us. He worked the front. I worked the core. We split responsibilities without ever having to write it down. He was relationships, clients, speaking. I was logistics, finance, risk. And it worked. Clients trusted him. They paid because of me. People saw us and said, power couple. Smart move. Living the dream. And some days it felt like that. When we landed a big contract, when we closed Q3 ahead, when we clinked glasses on the deck with music playing low, but it was also quiet. We never had children, not because we didn't want to. We tried. A few times, nothing stuck. We grieved. Quietly. Then we just moved on. Quietly. It was like that with most things. I don't think we stopped loving each other. We just stopped arriving, stopped checking in, stopped noticing the small erosion. Little things. He started locking his phone, started using new cologne, said he was taking thinking walks in the evening. I believed him, because I didn't want to know otherwise. He was always flirty. It was part of his charm. I used to find it funny, until it wasn't, until it started happening in front of me, until her name came up too often. And then, not at all. He gave me a bracelet for our 12th anniversary. No card, just a box. The receipt was still inside. I wore it anyway. Told myself it still meant something. Told myself it was just a phase. We were tired, busy, not 25 anymore. And that was okay. I didn't need sparks, just stability. But he wasn't interested in stability anymore. He wanted a mirror, not a partner. A fresh audience, not a witness. I remember the exact sentence. We're just different people now. I said, we're supposed to be. He looked down, said nothing. The silence said everything. He left 2 weeks later, and she moved in 6 months after that. Her name was Alyssa. She was 26, big eyes, thin wrists, spoke in absolutes. He thought she was peace, she was novelty, and novelty fades. But I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, didn't cry on the floor. I watched and planned, because I knew something he didn't. He thought he was trading up, he was actually downsizing, and I was about to show him the difference. We weren't a bad couple, we just got busy being fine. We didn't scream at each other, didn't cheat, didn't threaten divorce every time someone forgot the groceries. We talked logistics, budgets, clients, vacuum filters, and that became the marriage. We ate dinner at the island, not the table. We fell asleep to the hum of emails. Not each other's voices. When we touched, it was polite. When we kissed, it was habit. I would ask, "How was your day?" He'd say, "Fine." "You?" I'd nod. We'd move on. He started having more client dinners, more drinks after meetings, more trips that I wasn't invited on. At first, I didn't question it. It was the business. It was him being social. It was nothing. Until it wasn't. I remember the first time I felt it. He came home late, not drunk, not guilty, just checked out. I asked, "Long night?" He said, "Alyssa had some questions about the Marlowe account. We went over projections." He said it too fast, like he'd rehearsed it, and then added, "She's sharp. You'd like her." I didn't answer, because I already didn't. He started using words like compressed and distant, said things like, "Maybe we've just grown past each other," like marriage was a lease, like we missed a renewal deadline. I'd sit across from him in meetings and watch him light up when she spoke, watch him lean in, laugh, offer praise I hadn't heard in months. She was enthusiastic, curious, new. I was familiar, proven, quiet. I noticed he started dressing differently, less neutral, more fitted, new shoes I hadn't seen before. He got a new haircut, started using a different cologne, said he just felt like refreshing his look. I said nothing, because when a man starts reinventing himself, he's usually not doing it for the mirror. He stopped asking if I was joining him at client events, just assumed I wouldn't, and eventually, he was right. I stopped trying, stopped offering, stopped showing up, because when someone starts imagining life without you, they make space by closing doors you didn't realize they'd locked. Once he came home late and said, "You don't wait up for me anymore." I looked at him and said, "You don't come home anymore." We both went quiet, and that silence felt more honest than anything we'd said in weeks. We were fading, and we both knew it, but I was the only one still pretending we could fix it. He wasn't angry. He was already elsewhere, already rewriting our story in someone else's voice, and the part that hurt the most wasn't that he left. It's that when he did, I didn't cry, because I'd already lost him long before the suitcase hit the floor. We weren't broken, not loudly, not obviously. We were just unplugged. Two people doing life in parallel lanes, sleeping in the same bed, paying the same bills, smiling in the same photos, but not really meeting each other anymore. He used to leave me notes, small ones. "Good luck with your pitch. Dinner's on me tonight," even just, "You looked sharp today." They stopped around year 8. I didn't notice right away, just realized one day that the fridge door was clean, nothing on it but a shopping list and a dentist reminder. We used to plan weekends, hikes, brunch, walks downtown. Then weekends became catch-up time, errands, emails, separate screens in separate rooms. He bought a PlayStation, said it helped him decompress. He never asked if I wanted to try it. I started reading in bed with headphones in, so I wouldn't hear the gunshots from whatever game he was playing down the hall. We still had sex, just not often, not urgently, and never like we used to. It felt like checking in, like something on the list, a reminder that we were still, technically, married. I would ask, "How are you?" He'd answer, "Fine." I'd say, "Just fine?" And he'd say, "What do you want me to say?" That was our rhythm. No fighting, no storm, just that quiet erosion where love used to live. We had an inside joke about the couple across the street, how they always argued on Sundays, how dramatic they were. One night, after hearing them yelling again, I said, "At least we're not like them." Daniel looked at me for a long second, then said, "Yeah, at least they still talk." And just like that, the silence in our house started sounding different. He'd take thinking drives. Said they helped him clear his head. I told myself I trusted him. That's what marriage is, trust, even when things feel distant, especially then. But I wasn't stupid. He got a new phone, said the old one was glitchy. I asked to see a photo he took of a client dinner. He hesitated, then said, "I already backed it up. I'll send it to you later." He never did. I remember doing the laundry one Saturday, pulled a shirt of his from the dryer, noticed perfume I didn't own, not mine, not ours, sweet, young, vanilla with something citrusy underneath. I stood there holding it, wet cotton in my hands. And I knew, but I folded it anyway. Because when you've spent over a decade building something with someone, you don't tear it down on a hunch. You wait, you look, you make sure. So I watched, carefully, quietly, and what I saw was a man already gone, already somewhere else. I just hadn't been officially informed. And by the time he finally said the words, I wasn't shocked. I was ready. I just didn't show it. Because that's what you do when your heart breaks slowly. You bleed inside, and you keep the books balanced. It started with the way he smiled when he read his texts. Not often, just a half-second curve, a softness, the kind you can't fake, and definitely not the kind you give your wife after 12 years. He'd come home later, but not messy, not apologetic, clean, pressed, too smooth, like someone who had nothing to hide, but already had. He started talking more about Alyssa, in passing. At first, she was just talented, then refreshing, then surprisingly sharp for her age. I said nothing, because saying something would make it real. One night I asked, "How's Alyssa working out?" He didn't look up, just said, "She's great, she gets it." I asked, "Gets what?" He said, "Me," then paused, like he heard himself, but didn't correct it. Another night I walked into his office and saw her name on the screen, not an email, a chat window, Slack. It closed too fast. I asked, "Still working on the Marlowe proposal?" He said, "Just wrapping it up," but his hands weren't on the keyboard. At dinner, he brought her up out of nowhere, said, "You know what Alyssa said today? That we overcomplicate things. She thinks business is more emotional than logical." He laughed, like it was charming, like it meant something. Then he looked at me, waiting for agreement. I said, "She sounds very insightful." He smiled, didn't catch the edge in my voice. Or maybe he did, and ignored it. His shirt started smelling different. I don't mean perfume, I mean energy, like air that had been near something young, something awake. Not mine. He stopped asking how I slept, stopped asking anything, except, "Did you send the deck? Did you check that transfer?" Our conversations became admin. He used to touch my back when he walked past me in the kitchen, used to kiss my temple when I worked late. Now he didn't touch me at all, unless I touched him first, and even then his hands felt brief, uncertain, like I was something he had to clock out of. I found a receipt in his coat pocket, 2 glasses of wine, charcuterie, from a bar I didn't know we liked. I circled it, put it on his nightstand. Didn't say a word. He never brought it up, just left it on the dresser until it disappeared. A week later, he started locking his briefcase. We'd never had locked anything, not emails, not phones, not our lives. Now everything clicked shut. And then he said it. Over dinner, just like that. "I think I need space." I looked up, fork still in my hand. "From me?" He didn't answer right away. Just said, "I feel like I can't breathe in this house anymore." I nodded, cut my food, chewed slowly, and said, "That's okay. I've already opened all the windows." He blinked, but didn't smile. Because he knew. I knew. And from that moment on, I wasn't watching for signs anymore. I was watching for leverage. He started saying my name less, just "Hey," just "Can you?" 12 years, and I became a function. When we were with clients, he acted the same. Charming, polished, engaged, but with me, he stopped making eye contact when he spoke, like it was too much work to mean things now. One morning, he left early, earlier than usual, didn't say goodbye. That wasn't new. But that morning, he took the blue tie. The one he used to call his date night insurance. It was stupid, but I noticed. He hadn't worn it in almost a year, and now it was back in rotation. I opened his laptop once I shouldn't have, but I did. Just for a second. long enough to see a Google search. Can emotional affairs be considered cheating? No tabs, no messages, just that. He started taking calls from the car, with the windows rolled up. I asked once, "Everything okay?" He nodded, said, "Just work stuff. It's nothing." But his voice sounded full when he spoke to them, lighter, less measured, like the version of him I used to know, just not for me anymore. He didn't touch my laundry anymore, used to toss socks in the basket, fold towels when I was too tired. Now he stepped around them, not cruel, just gone. One night I was brushing my teeth. He walked past the bathroom, didn't stop, didn't glance in, and I realized I'd stopped existing in his periphery. He stopped wearing his wedding ring, said it was tight, said he'd get it resized. He never did. When I asked, "Do you still want to be married?" He said, "I want to feel alive again." I said, "And I don't?" He didn't answer, didn't even flinch, just walked out of the room. That was the moment I knew he wasn't confused. He'd made a choice. Now it was my turn to make one too. But unlike him, I didn't need to announce it. I would move quietly, strategically, completely, and he wouldn't even see it coming. I didn't scream, I didn't beg, I didn't even ask why, because I already knew. And now I needed proof. Not for closure, not for court, for control. So I opened a folder on my desktop, named it something boring, Q4 Expenses, Archive, and I started logging every change, every discrepancy, every line he crossed without knowing I was watching. He never changed his email password. He always said, "I don't have secrets." So I didn't hack. I just logged in. And there it was, meeting invites with no CCs, travel confirmations that never reached our joint calendar, a restaurant reservation for two on a night he claimed to be in Chicago. He'd never been good with details, but I had built my career on them. I cross-checked statements, card charges, Uber receipts, cloud backups. One folder at a time, I built a timeline. He had a burner Gmail. I found it by accident. He forgot to log out once. It wasn't just Alyssa. It was conversations, flirtations, old flames relit, jokes he never told me, photos I'd never seen, nothing explicit, nothing technically cheating. But it was worse. It was curated, intentional, emotional. He was already living a version of his life without me in it. He made plans, he shared ideas, he called someone else brilliant, not for work, just because. That used to be my word. At night I watched how he moved, when he touched his phone, when he didn't, when he stayed silent, when he laughed, and whether it reached his eyes. Most nights, it didn't. I recorded a conversation once, not because I needed it legally, just to hear how he sounded when he lied to my face. Calm, even, smiling, he said, "I'm just tired lately. You haven't done anything wrong." But everything in his body said, "You're not part of my life anymore." I wasn't angry, I was clinical. I built a document, a private PDF, encrypted, time-stamped, screenshots, transaction logs, metadata, phone records, photo comparisons. Then I called Jenna, old friend, now a senior analyst at a private audit firm. I sent her the file, told her, "Tell me what I'm missing." She called back 2 hours later and said, "Nothing. You're terrifying." I smiled, because I wasn't scared anymore. This wasn't revenge, not yet. This was clarity, and clarity is power. He still walked around the house like I didn't see him, still smiled like the truth was safe in some drawer I'd never find. But what he didn't know was that I already had it. All of it. Labeled, organized, sorted by date. And that my silence was not surrender. It was strategy. I didn't confront him. I didn't throw anything. Didn't raise my voice, because I didn't want an apology. I wanted an opening, and he gave it to me. He told me he was thinking of leaving the business, that he needed something with less pressure, said he wanted to reinvent himself. He didn't know I'd already removed his name from 3 pending contracts, quietly, legally. He still had access to the accounts, but I had the control. I told him, "If you need space, Take it. Maybe some time off. 2 months, unpaid. We'll be fine. He agreed, smiled, said, "Thank you for being so understanding." He thought I was letting him go gently. I was just giving him rope. I called our attorney, the one we used for corporate matters, asked about restructuring, about Clause B.3, the one he never read. It allowed partner buyout if one partner voluntarily steps away for over 45 days. He'd signed it. Years ago. Back when he trusted me to handle the boring stuff. I made 2 changes to the site, removed his headshot, updated the org chart. He didn't notice. Too busy hiking, texting, reclaiming his youth. He posted a story with her, sunset, cocktails, a smile I hadn't seen in years. I screenshotted it, not because it hurt, but because I might need to show why he was too distracted to fulfill partner duties. Clients started calling me directly. I didn't redirect, didn't mention him, didn't defend him, just delivered, clearly, competently, without delay, and one by one, they stopped asking for Daniel. Then came the subcontractors. He forgot to update their scopes. I did it for him, copied him, yes, but blind carbon. He was being replaced inside the business he thought was on pause. I offered Alyssa a project, a minor one, said it could be a great growth opportunity. She was thrilled, said she'd love to build her own client list. I made her sign, standard contract, with one modification, liability clause, ownership assumption of performance risks. She didn't even blink, didn't read it, just clicked. Daniel was out. She was technically in. And the moment one of those accounts defaulted, she'd be holding the debt. Not him, not me, her. I wasn't destroying anything. I was just letting the structure respond to its own imbalance. He weakened the walls. I let gravity finish the job. He texted me one night. "Hope you're okay." I replied, "More than okay. Hope your detox is everything you imagined." He sent a thumbs up. That was the last thing he ever wrote that didn't cost him something. I didn't leave him. I didn't ask him to leave. I just made it impossible for him to stay. When he realized it, when he came home one afternoon and found our lawyer at the table with documents and numbers and a silence he couldn't interrupt, he said, "You didn't even warn me." I said, "I've been warning you for 3 years. You just stopped listening." That night, he slept in the guest room. By morning, he was gone, and I made coffee, for one, calm, quiet, almost free. I didn't change the locks, I changed the structure, one email at a time, one clause at a time, one missing signature that I didn't remind him to send. He thought I was being kind, graceful, mature. He even told a friend, "Lauren's handling this really well." And I smiled when that friend told me. Because he had no idea what was already signed, already shifted, already his, in name only. He moved in with her after 6 weeks, sent a brief email about forwarding mail, didn't ask about the business, didn't ask about the house, didn't even ask about the dog, which we didn't have, but it still mattered that he didn't. He posted a photo of their new apartment, big windows, throw pillows, books he didn't read. Caption, "New chapter." I didn't like it. Didn't comment, didn't block, just added it to the file. Then came the accountant's call. He thought I still shared everything, that I'd tell her we were taking a break, that I'd keep his name on the documents out of loyalty or pity, but I didn't. I sent over the revised agreements, power of attorney revoked, equity reassigned. He wasn't just gone, he was erased. He called me that night, first time in weeks, said, "Did you move all the consulting licenses into your name?" I said no. The corporation did. By vote, he said, "You are the corporation." And I said, "Exactly." That's when the silence shifted. Not mine, his. He stopped posting, stopped smiling in other people's stories, stopped pretending he was winning. Because even if you rewrite history online, the math never lies. And I was the one who built the numbers. Alyssa reached out once, a DM. Just wanted to say there's no hard feelings. I didn't reply, because there weren't hard feelings. There were no feelings, just outcomes. The business stabilized, clients stayed, reputation stayed, I stayed, he didn't. He thought leaving made him free, but all it did was remove his shield. Now the world could finally see him clearly. And me? I didn't glow up, didn't travel to Bali, didn't post poetic reflections on betrayal. I just worked, reclaimed space, moved back into my body, and got ready for the second half of my life, without weight I didn't even realize I'd been carrying. It started with the conference. We were both invited, industry event, 300 people, all the right names, all the right rooms. He RSVP'd before I did, said he'd be presenting new ideas in executive autonomy. I made one call to the event coordinator, politely suggested a revision, sent them a PDF, 6 slides, all facts, no opinion. They pulled him from the schedule, quietly, no drama, just a change in lineup. He showed up anyway, wore a blazer, looked around too much. Nobody said anything to his face. But they saw, and worse, he saw that they saw. Then came the vendor account. We used to share one with a key tech supplier. He tried to renew the contract under our old firm name. Didn't realize I'd dissolved the entity 2 weeks earlier and re-registered under a new LLC. Same website, same logo, different backend. Just mine. They told him, "Sorry, we only deal with the primary contact now." He said, "I founded this company." They said, "Your name's not in the file." Next came Alyssa's client. She'd convinced them to sign with her directly, bragged about it online, posted a reel. Own your narrative. Turns out they violated 2 clauses in our general exclusivity agreement. I didn't sue, didn't threaten, just emailed their legal, attached documents, mentioned brand dilution and reputation risk. They dropped her, publicly, with a statement. She went silent for 10 days. Daniel started emailing again, polite at first. "Can we talk? Just want to clear the air. I think we handled things wrong." Then colder. "I don't think this is fair. I deserve a stake in what I built." Then desperate. "You win. Can we at least talk?" I didn't answer, because it wasn't a game. It was cleanup. He tried reaching out to clients we used to share, sent them friendly messages. "Hope you're well. Let's catch up. Would love to collaborate again." One of them forwarded it to me, added a single line, "Handled this for you." I didn't even have to ask. They knew. They all knew. Because they saw who showed up when it got hard, and it wasn't him. A month later, I got a notification. His new company filed dissolution paperwork. 2 weeks after that, Alyssa deleted her profile. I didn't gloat, didn't drink champagne, didn't call friends to celebrate. I just took a long bath, cleaned the corners of the house, organized the files I no longer needed, and finally deleted the folder with his name on it. That was my win. Not fire, not spectacle. Silence. Because revenge isn't always noise. Sometimes it's removal. Sometimes it's reclaiming your name in places they left fingerprints. Sometimes it's just being the last one standing. With peace. And receipts. Daniel left quietly. Not from the house. He did that months ago. But from the industry. From the rooms we used to share. From the story. No one blacklisted him. No one dragged his name. He just stopped being invited. Stopped being relevant. The glow faded. And there was no center underneath. Alyssa rebranded. New last name. New niche. Spiritual copywriting, I think. She blocked me on every platform. I didn't follow her to begin with. The house got quieter, but not hollow. Just still. And stillness felt good. I repainted the office, changed the furniture layout, moved my desk closer to the window. Clients kept calling. New ones came. They didn't ask about him. They asked about capacity, expertise, turnaround times, the kind of questions you only ask someone who's proven. I didn't date for a while, not because I couldn't, because I didn't want to. My bed felt honest again, and I liked being the only one in it. No secrets, no silence that hid things, just space and rest. One day I got a package, no return address. Inside, a bracelet, silver, the same one he gave me the year everything broke. No note. Just the jewelry. Returned. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was sad in the most predictable way. He still thought the symbol mattered. He never understood that it was the silence around it that ruined everything. I gave the bracelet to Goodwill, didn't even take a tax receipt. Some things you just let go of. I started writing again, not for work, for myself. Morning pages, half-thoughts, lists of things I still wanted, none of them involved him. The hardest part was forgiving myself, not for trusting him, for ignoring the part of me that knew better. She was always there, whispering, tugging, waiting. Now she's in the front seat, and I don't ignore her anymore. I'm not angry, not bitter, not building walls, just different now, more precise, more still. He took pieces of me I didn't know were removable, and when I rebuilt, I didn't put them all back, because some of them weren't mine to begin with. I saw him once, at a coffee shop near the old office. He didn't see me, or if he did, he didn't know how to look. He was alone. No laptop, no phone, just stirring a coffee that had already gone cold. I watched him for less than a minute, and in that minute, I felt nothing. No ache, no thrill, no regret, just air and space. I still have the company, still get calls from people who think they're too broken to recover. I help them see the numbers, the truth behind the fear. And I tell them, sometimes things fall apart, so you stop pretending they're whole. Chloe, my assistant, once asked why I don't use my old last name anymore. I said, it served a chapter. This is a different one. She nodded. Didn't ask again. She's sharp like that. I started sleeping with the window open again. There's a tree outside that makes this soft scraping sound when the wind moves through it. I used to hate that sound. Now I wait for it. It reminds me that things move, even when we're still. I'm not rebuilding anything. I'm not finding myself. I didn't go to Bali, didn't dye my hair. I just took my name back, my breath, my timeline. And that's enough. Sometimes people ask, would you take him back if he apologized? I say, he did. Silently, with every consequence he earned. But by then the door was already closed, and I'd forgotten what his knock sounded like. Now I go to bed when I'm tired, wake up without weight, work without flinching, and love, and when it comes again, will meet me where I am now, not where I broke. There's peace in knowing you didn't have to destroy someone to get your life back. Just outgrow them, quietly, fully, without asking permission. I don't tell this story for sympathy, or applause, or even warning. I tell it because sometimes people leave and think they've won, and sometimes they do. But not this time. He thought younger meant better, that newer meant cleaner, that starting over meant starting higher. But here's the truth. Age doesn't protect you from being lost. Youth doesn't protect you from being used. And love, real love, isn't something you upgrade. I don't hate him, not anymore. Hate requires energy. I have better things to do with mine. He's just a man I once loved, and then outgrew, quietly, completely, and without a single apology. That's the story, not of what he did, but of what I built after he left, and that he doesn't get to touch, ever again.